Godot, one of the most popular game engines that has been used over the years by developers young and old. Hell, even the Sonic Colors remake was made with Godot. But when it comes to tutorials, most of them are pretty much too long, and they don't make them to where it's explained directly to the viewers in today's society. So I figured I'd make some tutorials that's just as direct and straight to the point as it is short and simple enough for the occasion. And in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how you can make a simple 2D pinball game just like this one. But before we go ahead and get to the nitty gritty of things, I'm going to show you guys how simple it is to make a flipper for a pinball game. Now, as you can see here, I have a new scene all set up for the occasion. Now, what we're going to do is go over to this plus sign right here, or we just hit Control A to add a new node. And, of course, what we're going to be needing for the flipper, of course, is this little thing right here, the Rigid Body 2D. This Body 2D node is pretty much used for all sorts of physics and such, especially if you want to make like wrecking balls and stuff. And we're also going to be using it for the flipper, of course. Now, after making the first node of the list, a Rigid Body 2D, you'll notice that you'll see a little icon right here. That's because we don't have a collision set. So, we're just going to get a collision shape 2D, make it a rectangle, go ahead and zoom on in, and we're just going to put it right at this little corner right here, and we'll just go ahead and shape it up. Now, what we'll need is a sprite, so we're just going to look up sprite in the list, and here we are, sprite 2D. Add that, and we're going to use this little icon here as the flipper. We need to set it up the same way, then we just shrink it down to size and adjust it however we need to. Now with the flipper node selected, go over to the transform tab and you'll see rotation right here. This is basically the most critical part of making a flipper or anything that involves rotation. At the most part, this keeps track of all the rotation possible, and it's exactly what we'll be focusing on to make the flipper work. One thing I forgot to mention is that we need inputs, so we just go over to this tab that says Project, hit Project Settings, then we go over to this tab that says Input Map, and voila! As you can see, I've already made a little list of inputs, of course, but if you want to know how you can make your own little inputs, just click this little text box right here, just type in whatever action you want to call it, and then hit Enter, or just hit the Add button right here, and there you go! Now, as for the input selection, you can just go ahead and manually put it in, or you can just go ahead and just type in whatever key possible on your keyboard, or whatever button you press on your gamepad. Now with flipper selected, just hit this button right here and we're going to make a new script to make our code. Now first, we just need to put in a variable. We just put in var rotation value and we just put in whatever value. Right here, I'm just putting it at 15. Then we just get rid of the ready function because we don't even need that. Then we make the process function become a physics process function. Now at the very least, this step is crucial and it's best that you don't skip it whatsoever, unless you want to have the pinballs phase through the flippers like a ghost. Now in the physics process function, we put in if input.isActionPressed, then we put in the left flipper action, then we type in if rotation value is greater than -45. This is the max rotation for our flipper. Then we put in rotation value minus equals 700 times delta. This piece of code right here uses a special kind of math in order to make the rotation smooth. As you can see here, it looks pretty smooth whenever I'm using the flippers. Of course, you can adjust the number however you like. Now, we put in LF rotation value less than or equal to -45. This is where we're going to lock the rotation value right here. Now, with the button released, we put in else, and we put in if rotation value is less than the starting rotation, which is 15. Then we just put in rotation value plus equals 700 times delta. And if the rotation value is back to 15, then we'd lock it to 15. Then we put in rotation degrees equals rotation value. One last thing, with flipper selected, on the right side of the screen you'll see a tab called deactivation, and in that menu you'll see these two settings, freeze and freeze mode. Set the freeze mode to on, set the freeze mode to kinematic, and voila! We got a working flipper at long last. Now, I know my method may not be the most perfect one, but it is effective as it is simple. Now here on the main screen, I used all sorts of collision shapes here and there in order to make the walls and stuff, and all the assets you see are made with inks here. Of course, you can pretty much make the game look like this, of course, if you're just prototyping for anything in particular. And here is the code I made for both the flippers, of course, and of course there's one little detail I should mention in this code as well. For starters, if you take a good look at the right flipper input action I've made, you'll see that the values have been reversed from negatives to positives and vice versa. And then down here, you'll notice flipper and flipper 2 and the rotation degrees for both of them. You may also notice the green colored text along with the $sign right next to them. This is what's known as a call method. It's plain and simple. All you gotta do is make sure that the nodes are inside the list, basically the nodes that you want inside the list. Otherwise, you're gonna have all sorts of errors. Now that we got the flippers all taken care of, it's now time to go ahead and add in the main object to the game, the pinball. Now as for the pinball, it's plain and simple. You just need to make it a rigid body 2D with a collision shape and make sure it's a circle, and you'll need a sprite for the occasion too. Now there's two ways for the pinball to move around the board pretty smoothly, and it happens to involve this little piece right here, known as the lock rotation. Now here are the pinballs without the lock rotation, and here are the pinballs with said lock rotation turned on. Of course, there's one little thing. In order to make the lock rotation gimmick work, you need to go over to this little tab right here, which is physics material. Hit that, add new physics material, and then you'll see this little list right here. You'll only need to focus on the friction and the bounce, and set the friction to 0 and the bounce to 0.2. Now for the bumper, which is another rigid body 2D object, of course, you just need to add a physics material with a friction of 0 and a bounce of 0.5, and be sure to go to the deactivations tab and activate freeze mode and set the freeze mode to static. And presto, we have now made a pinball game on Godot 4. Now, if you have any questions about the whole 9 yards of this tutorial, feel free to comment below. And if you liked what you saw, be sure to like and subscribe for more, because I'll be more than happy to keep making tutorials. One more thing before I log off, I'm actually working on a little arcade platformer known as Flower Power. Basically a project of mine that's supposed to capture the nostalgic era of the NES, and of course, like all my projects, I plan to make them easy to play, challenging the master. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and log out for today, and I hope to see you guys next time.